delighted to say that we have an esteemed panel this morning for you who are going to be answering all your questions. First up, I'd like to welcome onto stage Rich Barker, Executive Director, Business Development of the PGA. Little round of applause. Yeah, we have a round of applause. There we go. Chris Eigelaar, Resort Director of the Belfry. Welcome, Chris. They all said to me, ask the others the questions this morning. Fire the questions for the other guests. Absolutely not. Lisa Lovett, Duncan, as you mentioned, unfortunately stuck on the A1. They are going to be here soon, but it does mean we have a last-minute replacement in the form of Phil Craghill, co-CEO for GMS, who have represented Ping for more than a quarter of the century. So Phil in a great position to talk all things equipment. Thank you for jumping in at the last minute. And also we have a very warm welcome to Nuno Sepulveda, co-CEO of Details Group and PGA Aroeira. Did I say that right? Welcome to you all. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to start with you, Phil. First up, into the hot seat. Look, let's talk equipment a little bit. Obviously, the work you've done with Ping now for more than 25 years. Just set the scene a little bit, because I think this is such an interesting topic right now. For instance, we saw recently, the driver testing, the conformity that we witnessed. Obviously, a lot of was made in the media with Rory McIlroy and obviously Scotty Scheffler failing that driver test as well. How important is it for the brands, as we see every year, we have the big product launches at the start of the year. How is that balance struck between the advances in technology and the new product designs and the new technology each and every year, but also maintaining that conformity that we have to adhere to time and time again?
Yeah, I think that obviously the margins are pretty fine in terms of trying to get the balance right between giving the professionals as much of an opportunity to gain as much distance and forgiveness as possible while staying conforming. I think somebody like Ping have over 100 engineers at their headquarters in Phoenix. And from their point of view, there's probably never been more technology available to them to allow them to try and, make as many allowances for wear and tear, which is essentially what makes a driver non-conforming, is just the number of golf balls that it gets hit. And just the tour vans now have to have an awful lot of technology on the tour vans to make sure that they can keep an eye on things as every week that they're out on tour.
For you, what have been the standout developments in terms of equipment, ball technology, and what are some of the key things that we should be looking out for over the next sort of few years?
So I'd say that small steps have been made every single year in the last 10 years, which has meant that there's been large developments. I think that more than anything, probably driver technology is definitely stimulates the attention of the consumer more than anything as well. Driver-head relationship to shaft is really important, and I think that from a sound, a feel, a look thrown in with great performance is what people demand now. And maybe 10, 15 years ago, there would be a product that is great looking, but doesn't feel good or doesn't look great. Now that kind of has gone. So the whole package there needs to be, especially when we're talking about better players, professionals, they all want to look down at something that they feel looks great.
In terms of the trends, AI, the big question,
Yeah.
how will AI impact the equipment sector, the design, and the productivity we're going to see over the next few years?
Yeah.
It's a big question.
Yeah, it's big. It's going to get bigger. It's going to get bigger. There's two things, I think. One is generative GI, which is AI, which essentially Ping don't use at this moment in time, which allows somebody to design a club head using AI. They don't use that.
Yeah.
Some people do, and are very comfortable about talking about that, and I'm sure it'll happen at some point. But what it does allow is for our 100 engineers at Ping, it allows them to crunch through so much more data so much quicker. And allows them to project things which they could never have projected without spending months, kind of using their PhD degrees. So the speed of which they can do something now and either look at that technology and go, this is going to be fantastic, this could be a real winner, or discard it, means that they can move things forward so much quicker than ever before. That's kind of on the granular side. I do think that there'll be other brands and maybe not in hardware as such, but in the rest of golf, whereby they use generative AI to design products.
Rich, you're nodding. It is fascinating, and I'll open this up in just a second. When we're looking at AI, to your point, your business, to the members, maybe equipment retail, how do you see it impacting the golf industry over the next few years?
A huge amount of unknowns. I think golf traditionally is not a particularly quick adopter in these sorts of things. I think it'll be interesting to see what sections of the golf industry adopt AI and how they do that within their businesses. I think for us, how members interact with the PGA will completely change. Duncan alluded to PGA Learn, which is our CPD platform for content. It's a traditional search engine, so you might want some support on writing a business plan. You'd search on that platform. You might be given 20, 30 different articles to read. Well, you're not going to skim through 20 or 30 different articles. AI will serve you real-time, better content. So how we provide and present that content, I think, will dramatically change. For us, we're spending quite a bit of time talking about how AI will impact coaching and fitting in the future to really primary roles of PGA members. Will consumers be able to go onto a platform, upload their swing, and get a lesson? That technology is already there. It's actually worryingly quite good. I don't think that'll ever replace an in-person lesson, but will it supplement it? Will it add to it? Yes. So I think, there's a lot of unknowns is how I would say.
And obviously that's a big piece for you now with the education part of what you do, working with your members to ensure that they are at the top of their game and they know exactly what is at stake and what is going on, the very latest news.
Yeah, 100%. It's a real balance because of the having the formal education means that anything that sits within that formal education has to be tested, it has to be proven, has to go through some really rigorous processes to validate that it's accurate. That doesn't mean it's ever going to be particularly cutting edge, but what CPD and our content and our communications has to be is cutting edge. So it is really important that we are thinking about how this is going to influence the role that we play in supporting members, but also the role of PGA Professionals moving forward, because I think it will change.
Good stuff. Any sort of questions on the equipment sector or AI in general that anyone would like to raise to our panel?
I think it's fairly embryonic just now, but it absolutely will begin to grow. And look, I think sort of resistance is a bit sort of futile with this, and it's about sort of trying to get that sort of balanced and measured approach about how it can affect your business, but not lose that personal aspect as well. Again, we've got a contact centre. We've got about 120 workers in there, and you think that's a big resource. How will AI start to sort of weave into that space? And there's a bit of sort of jeopardy over that, isn't there? But again, if we can get that AI to do a bit of the heavy lifting and a bit of the sort of the manual heavy lifting, I think there's definitely a space for it. But yeah, I think it's a bit of slowly catch a monkey with this one as well.
I think just as well from our point of view, as an agency, we have just over 20 people in our agency. Everybody uses it. Everybody uses it to just make their job quicker, more efficient. Definitely translations, working in foreign languages, it's fantastic. So from that point of view, I just kind of say to people, chuck yourself in. Nobody knows how to use it before the very first time that they use it. But once you do, it does make your job, it can make your job more efficient, if nothing else.
Yeah. Chris, I'll bring you in on this. How's it impacting the Belfry right now, your job and working with your employees?
Yeah, I think we're a little bit slow to the table. It's definitely a focus for us over the next 6 months. We do work from a chatbot. So we've worked in ways to streamline and make our team more efficient, but really supporting the team to stay longer on a call, to talk longer to a guest, not to remove the person. So that's the key focus for us at this stage. From a customer reviews, it really helps us to really understand what the customer is saying. I think the old school systems of printing reports and doing things very manual, I think the AI is really supporting us from that perspective. But from a golfing side of it, we're looking at various upgrades at the minute. It's not available, so it's something that potentially will happen in the next 6 to 9 months. But as a team and as a business, we feel we are very slow to the table. But I think all of hospitality is, to be honest, and everybody's very concerned, especially the bounce back of COVID and the staffing resources, the amount of time and effort that's been spent in getting the right team on the floor, getting the right team behind the system to really support the business. I think from hospitality, it feels that you just need to slow it down a little bit and make sure you make the right decisions for the long term. So yeah, it's definitely a key focus, and there's definitely more we can do. I think from a team perspective, on a day-to-day basis, ChatGPT is absolutely incredible. I'm a little bit scared myself, but if I speak to my team, they absolutely love it. It's Angus, for instance, has utilised it quite a bit from a look and feel perspective. We're doing a massive landscaping project at the minute. When we opened the new bedroom ballroom, and Angus utilised ChatGPT just to say, what can this drive look like? What planting schemes can I use? ChatGPT unfortunately closed the road, and there was no access to the hotel. So there's a few challenges with it. But overall, it really helped us to really understand what the potential is. It will look really good, yeah. Access, of course, we need the guest on site. But there's various things that you can utilize. We utilize the front of the hotel. What can ChatGPT do from a look and feel perspective? So it's not only from a streamlining and from an operational perspective. It really allows you to see things in a different manner as well. So which is really good, but slightly scary as well, of course.
Well, it is totally scary, and as you mentioned earlier, you alluded to it, it's so fast paced that it seems there's a new advancement every day, and it's up to us to all sort of keep abreast of that. I mean, hands up, does everyone use it in their kind of day-to-day world? Pretty much everyone now. Yeah, it's. I'll come to you in a sec, Rich. I wanted to interject.
Just wanted to add a sort of slight different angle to this. So obviously, to become a PGA professional, everyone has to go through the 3-year training program. At any one point, we have 1,000 trainees going through that training. It's fascinating to see how many young trainees are now using AI to write assignments. You can actually spot it a mile away, but actually it presents real risk. And the whole education sector now is spending tens and tens of thousands trying to research and understand how to combat that, to remove the risk of that. So that is a really interesting space.
Yes, it's interesting. So I had breakfast with Angus this morning, and I said, I've got all these questions, Angus. I don't know what all the answers. He said, just drop it into ChatGPT, it will tell you what to do. And I said, well, I know there's certain words that ChatGPT use, and it's easy to figure it out, and it's easy to understand when someone has dropped it into ChatGPT.
Yeah, you have to soften it a little. I was at a wedding the other day, and the best man speech was entirely AI'd, and it was brilliant. But yeah, Nuno, what about you? And we'll come to sort of the specifics of the next sort of topic of conversation, tourism, in a minute. But for you, AI, how is it impacting your business right now?
I think golf in general is pretty slow. It's just going a little bit slow. But on the business side, I think is where we're going to see the biggest speed up. So anything to do with guest satisfaction, bookings, dynamic prices, all those things they exist. So we're just trying to avoid them, I suppose. It's in general, it's an old industry. So tour operation, all that stuff is very, very old. Not old, but old-fashioned, I'll say. I think forecasts for the business, I think it's becoming more and more easy, although we're trying to keep some control on it. So, but I think it's coming really quick. You can see on the fleet management side of it, of machinery and buggies and all that, it's happening. It's already there. They have all the data. We know exactly if we need the buggies, if we need the machines, if you actually need the people. So, I mean, it's happening. It's just we're not really going forward yet. But I think in the next 1.5 years, at least on our projects for the next 1.5 years, it's going to change dramatically on the business, on the machinery, on the fleet management, on the guest satisfaction, forecast business, and booking with the dynamic prices. I think it's going to change dramatically on the next 1.5 years. At least we have a lot of projects in hand. The technology works. We're just trying to figure out if we don't going to be, caught up by it. So it's changing quickly. So it's happening.
It is, absolutely. Look, let's move on to the sort of the retail sector if we can. Chris, I'm going to come back to you on this. Obviously with the work at the Belfry, the kind of pro shop model, but also what we're seeing with the kind of digital shift and the tech shift. How do we get that balance right? How do we keep sort of the originality and the history and prestige of we know so well with golf, with that kind of pro shop model, but also bringing the new advancements in?
I'll say that the first thing is working with the partners. We're very fortunate that we've got great relationships with various partners that really support us from a retail perspective. They're definitely much more qualified and trained to really understand what to do from a shop perspective. But secondly, I think you need to be very close to the trends. You need to really understand the guest needs. And thirdly, I think touch and feel will always be and continue to be the biggest influencer. Yesterday we had people arrive at the golf shop and said, "Oh, I've seen this on your Shopify. Can I buy it in shop?" So there's people, and they travelled from Birmingham to come to the Belfry. So there's definitely people that really like the idea to online shop. It's fairly easy and quick, but we still see a lot of people that prefer to walk into the shop. From a retail side of it, this year alone, we've seen an increase in sales, which is absolutely fantastic. Yes, of course, we had some absolutely amazing weather. Can't talk about the weather too much because Angus is going to get upset from a greenkeeping perspective because we've not had much rain. But of course, the weather has really supported us from a shop side of it. We've seen an increase in sales. We've changed brands quite a bit this year, or over the last 6 to 9 months, than what we've most probably done in the last 4 or 5 years.
And was that just customer feedback?
Customer feedback, pricing, absolutely vital. We've created our own brand, the Belfry brand, for the first time in the last 18 months. We've seen that increase from a purchase perspective, which is fantastic. Some months it takes up to 50% of our sales, which is fantastic. So it's important to make sure the price point is right. Make sure you understand what the need is from a customer, from a golfer perspective, and make sure you give them enough variation, of course, as well. The golfers want choice, but ultimately the big thing is they want to pick it up. They want to feel the clubs. They want to feel the clothes. They want to make sure they can pick up the golf ball and buy there rather than just buying it online. So I believe it will still continue. I believe it's a great strength from our side of it as well. But you will always, or we will always, keep a close eye on an online perspective as well. But we're looking to bring our Shopify. It's again, everything from a technology perspective, very simple, very easy. It's doing quite well for us, and it's something that we're looking into to make bigger and better as well over the next 6 to 9 months.
Good stuff. Nuno, what about you from the retail perspective? What changes have you had to make with your business? What do you see as the key exciting opportunities moving forward in that sector?
Well, what we noticed, and this is factual, it's average spend per golf round, it's going up, right? But only on the places that you actually rebrand. So if you not being afraid to rebrand your product, which is always a complex situation. You go through a lot of work, and sometimes it's just changing a logo, changing a positioning of the product. But rebranding, a proper rebranding with repositioning, with new brands, with new, I think it's changing a lot. And we have increases in some of our places, and Aroeira is a good example. 30% above some time last year per golf round. Wow. So I mean, it obviously covers the rebranding very easily, and the clientele didn't necessarily change, but it's just how we present ourselves. So that's it's a very, we tend to keep the business as is. And hopefully it was always the policy of more volume. So we get more volume, we sell more, not necessarily more per golf round. And we see where we rebrand a big increase on value per golf round. And that's what we're looking for. So it's quality. So I think there's a concern about quality. There's a concern to be aligned with the new trends, new products, because they've seen that polo many times, many years, many golf courses. The logos are, there's 1,000 of logos with the tree. We've seen that. So they want to see something different, something special. And even if they come to our place today, and if in 5 years it's a new place or new rebranded, they appreciate it as well. It keeps it coming. So rebranding has been the word for us.
I think it's interesting, just to, Rich, to pick up on Chris's point there about the kind of, I guess that kind of history and tradition with golf, and that feeling of yeah, I want to see it, I want to touch it, I want to feel it. How do you work with your members in terms of that pro shop element to make sure that that is still an absolute key focal point to kind of negate some of the challenges, brilliant challenges from the digital side, but also to make sure that you still have that public facing PGA Pro in the shop where customers can come?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting sort of little ecosystem that, insofar as the more traditional PGA Professional shop retail businesses, they have a captive audience, right?
Yeah.
So they have their membership. If they're doing a good job and looking after the members, let's hope that they support them and buy from them. I think that one of the real benefits is it's such a technical sport. Like, everything can be customized. If you speak to Craig about the impact of a grip, if you speak to FootJoy about shoes and really getting into the performance impacts of fitting for shoes, down to loft and shaft options. I mean, it's so technical. There's so much to choose. Why would you buy that online? Yeah. Why would you not go and try a few? And yes, the PGA members have an obligation to lean into that and to make sure that they're offering that service, offering a range of products to combat someone just trying it and then buying it online. But if they get that right, you'd hope that the consumer would support them and purchase. I think custom fitting is just getting bigger and bigger. There's more and more data that's available. I guess one of the certain risks is, going a little bit back to AI, is whether people put stats into an AI tool and it says, right, go and buy that club. Yeah. But I genuinely believe people want to hit it. I mean, you walk into a pro shop. How many people have walked into the pro shop here and they have a little wiggle with a putter? Everyone loves to feel it. So I think that is a real asset to a PGA Professional in their business.
Absolutely. Any questions on that? Any thoughts? Yep.
I think from the data that we see a little bit at 59 Club, a bit of a focus on the low-hanging fruit. There's a lot of, through engagement in a pro shop, I think our stats would say people are about 7 or 8 times more likely to buy when they get a decent needs analysis in terms of what they're looking for. And we see great interactions when it comes to buying hardware or buying a waterproof jacket. But when you're in a significant volume business, Belfry or the details properties where people are coming through the door, just that focus on putting drinks and snacks in front of people, making sure you're maximizing your buggy utilization, golf balls, tees, just offering those things that are valid for every single golfer. Not everyone is going to come in and buy a driver every time they play golf, but everyone's a customer for a bottle of water or a drink or a snack.
Nice coffee.
Nice cup of coffee, yeah. So those things can make a significant difference. Just if you can grow your average rate, £3-4 euros, then big difference.
Absolutely.
In a big volume venue.
Yeah.
I think on that point as well, the PGA Professional who leans into the opportunity that the customer has walking into their shop, really lean into it and service them and talk to them and engage with them, they're doing phenomenally well through their retail businesses. Those that expect the customer to buy without providing a service or creating an interaction, why would the consumer choose? So I think if they lean into it, there's a huge opportunity there, I think.
Phil, what about the sort of brands? Sorry, Chris, you want to come in? No, go ahead.
I think the biggest change we've made in the golf shop to date is our confectionery. Yeah. So Will is absolutely right. It is the biggest design change we've made.
Really?
Is by installing bigger fridges, bigger areas for people to help themselves with chocolates and snacks and waters and things to take onto the golf course. So it's to date is the biggest physical change we've made in the golf shop, and it's working phenomenally well for us. So I've spotted them, and also kids' clothes. I think that's the one thing that's really working. So we've introduced with Adidas, Under Armour, FootJoy. We introduced kids' clothes, so 11 and below, again doing very well. So it's not just the golfer buying for himself; it's the golfer taking something back for the kid as well, and that is logoed. So they really like to take something back for the kids at home or the family at home to show them where they've been for the weekend or for a golf trip.
Have you seen a big trend in sort of obviously the boom in women's participation as well at the minute?
Definitely,
Has that been a big focus?
And again, it's something we've introduced this year for the first time, our own brand as well from a Belfry side of it. So we've only launched that probably 6 weeks ago. So we'll wait and see how that's going to work. But again, it's the price point. So we only worked with 2 brands. I think one of them is in the shop, in the room at the minute. And again, it's just trying to work or trying to offer different price points, different offerings from a look and feel perspective as well.
Yeah, good stuff.
Can I just say something? One thing we noticed a big difference. It's on the professional side of the business, because retail has always been given to the, maybe the most the person been longer on reception, right? So and it's not necessarily a retail manager. It's not a professional. And retail.
Bit of a pass.
And,
What's your dog called? Oh, there we go.
Phil, the social cut of that is going to be absolutely superb. Can't wait.
Chicken piri piri. Yeah. So I just
Sorry,
I
Nuno.
kind of
Rudely interrupted.
No. Just on the retail side, I think when you look some of these shops like Zara, Mango, all those big brands, they don't give the business to the receptionist or to the sales girl. There's a whole work behind, and we hire the professional. Now we're building a professional retail team, and coming from a different world from the golf, which is, I think it's good. Refresh ideas, and they understand how it works, the malls, the shopping centers, and because it's a business, it's an art. So I think there's a missed opportunity sometimes. It is what it is sometimes, but it's different to have somebody that's been there in reception for many years. Okay, you handle, so she ordered, or they will order the material, or the pro, versus a professional retail person. I think made a huge difference from us because they can calculate incentives, role plays, train the teams, SOPs, examples from other industries, and he refreshes our business as well because it's a little bit dated sometimes. So just something that actually worked very well for us over the past 12 months.
Yeah, good, fresh new ideas. Phil, what about when we're looking? There's so much talk at the minute about this. We're all trying to make golf more accessible, inclusive, kind of that younger generation. What about brands and retailers in terms of attracting those younger, more diverse audiences? What are some of the key plays that the brands and retailers are really focusing on right now?
Yeah, so I definitely think that if some of the brands, the hardware brands, they're really looking hard at their mix of ambassadors, and whether that might be starting at the very sort of top of the pile there in terms of tour professionals, because the younger element, they're very, very strong on brand awareness. Yeah. Let's be honest.
So
right?
they see a nice T-shirt, a nice polo shirt, they want that.
And if they see something on tour, then it kind of gives them instant credibility. We all know this, right? But then obviously there's also a whole world of influencers and content creators who've been talking to a younger audience for quite a while. And so I think most brands now have a really clear kind of influencer strategy, ambassador strategy. It's developing pretty fast, I would say, and that's the thing, that is because it is in itself an immature kind of industry, then it moves very fast, and maybe definitely some younger people are coming through very hot at the moment, I would say. And so you just got to keep your eye on those trends and use them properly. That's the other thing, that the influencers and the creators, they are desperate to create interesting content that is new and fresh, and that's not easy for them. So you've got to get that brand alignment right.
Is there a sense with, because this world it's crazy. I mean, I'm from the kind of traditional TV world, and you look at the kind of content creator space now, it's mind-boggling. YouTube, we have Bryson DeChambeau, who is now effectively, he kind of ranks his YouTube credibility and business model right up there with his professional golfer status. Yeah. It's scary how it's evolving and how golf is sort of transcending into that new era.
Yeah, and definitely, he's kind of changed the whole tack of it, because tour professionals, before Bryson really did his thing, tour professionals weren't that strong on YouTube. You'd be kind of amazed that Rory wouldn't get as many views as Rick Shields, for example. Because it was very heavily personality based, and kind of Rick built his whole brand kind of on YouTube. But Bryson has maybe shown a way that it can be done from a tour player, and I'm sure there will be a lot more tour player activity, and we'll see a lot more tour player activity on YouTube.
Rich, I think it's quite interesting from a PGA Pro perspective. How do you encourage those professionals to kind of move into that space a little bit to attract customers to profile what they're doing? Is that something that really can be an explosive topic over the next couple of years?
I mean, yeah, definitely can. I don't think we're doing a good enough job in supporting members at the moment in that regard, if I'm being totally honest. But it is a huge opportunity, and Rick's a PGA member, very proud PGA member. Pete Finch is playing a lot of PGA tournaments at the moment.
Yeah.
Huge audience reach, and then people like Chris Ryan, who I trained with, building really big businesses online now. I think at a sort of a local level, the opportunity for the PGA Professional to engage in their members through content, through these social channels is huge. And you can really start quite quickly and quite easily. And I think actually, to Phil's comment, actually some of the personality-driven content, it doesn't have to be polished. It can be authentic, it can be original, it can be real. It's a true representation of them. That makes it very accessible. And I think a lot of the trainees that are coming through now, they're doing this already. So I think there's a huge opportunity for PGA Professionals. The PGA brand is such a stamp of credibility that it creates an immediate engagement. Support that with some really engaging content, tips, information on product, and I think quite quickly they could build audiences quite quickly. I would like to see us do more for members to support them in how to do that.
In terms of what way, how would you do that?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's so much technology, but it's so accessible that there's a real opportunity there, I think.
Chris, for you, thoughts on that? The influence of kind of marketing space and how you could potentially use that at the Belfry. Obviously, you have the name and the credibility and everything that the Belfry stands for, but how do you maybe use that space more to promote and get more customers through the door?
Yeah, so we work very close with Four Brothers. So again, from a YouTube perspective, and the reason we quite like them as well is that they're not very traditional. So it's a newer audience, a younger audience. My 12-year-old last year introduced me to Four Brothers. I didn't know anything about them beforehand. So he was more excited about them coming to the Belfry than anything, any superstar. So it's amazing. I like the way they interact. We've utilized them to put on a couple of events as well. They recently joined the Belfry event as well when we did a charity event, and it's great. The interaction is amazing. And I think part of the reason is it's a totally different demographic that look at someone like Four Brothers, and that's important for us to make sure that the next generation. That's the way you communicate with the next generation. That's the way you show that golf is cool from a next generation perspective as well. And it removes some of the tradition that some people don't like. And it supports that accessibility element, which is really good. It's again, my 7-year-old absolutely loves it. He wants to play golf because what he sees, he likes the jokes. He likes the way they make fun of the normal golfer as well. So it's important. There's various different sides to it, and I know there's a lot of influencers from a retail perspective that's doing phenomenally well. That helps us from a retail, from a shop perspective as well, from a new trend perspective. So there's loads of different areas that it really supports, and it's just a good thing.
Yeah,
really good thing.
Yep.
Just following up from my son, I think he was about 6 or 7 years old. I put him doing Happy Gilmore shot on the driving range near where me and Rich are based, and it was picked up by Sports Bible and Lad Bible, and it got a few million views, and he's literally adopted that journey now. So he's 13 years old. He's a Puma, Cobra ambassador, Moto caddy. Apologies, because I know Power Caddy are in the room. He's sponsored. He's been on many YouTube channels, and he's living the dream. And the amount of opportunities it's opened for him, purely from being on Instagram, is huge. So Joshy the golfer is his handle on Instagram.
Joshy the golfer, and he's 13.
He plays off 2 handicap.
Amazing.
So he can back it up with his
Does
golf.
he like coffee? We've got somebody here for coffee as well.
But he's been on Tubes and Ange several times, their platforms, and it's opened some really, really big opportunities for him. So I'm very much supporting that. And I like that, particularly Puma and Cobra, when they picked him up at 10, 11 years old, it was just going outside the norm of golf. And I think I've been a golfer for 30 years, and I do think a lot of areas of golf is very stuck in its old ways, and it's not really embracing the core people who are coming through. Your goods and people like that, they're absolutely smashing it, and they are the people who are going to bring the next generation through playing golf. So I think it's here to stay, and it needs to be embraced by the whole market.
I mean, it is, isn't it? But it is fascinating, that kind of balance, as you said, the kind of the traditional you don't want to alienate. We talk about this a lot on Sky when we have, discussion points in the studio, and we talk about our audiences. How do we attract that new audience to watch Sky Sports? But also when we do the TV demographics, our main audience is over 55 males. Like that is our core audience. So we don't want to alienate those people, but we also want to bring new viewers, male and female, to the party. Nuno, for you, just from a marketing perspective, with all your brands and courses now with details, the marketing plan for you, again, how do you strike that balance with attracting the younger people through the gates, but also keeping that kind of traditional model?
We just hired young people.
Yeah.
We just
Sign
people
him
that
up.
actually try to see us through with different eyes, because we can't see it. We all say, we'd love to see it. We understand it, but we don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, I have my own idea. I like my own clothes. I like my one way to play golf. I like a certain way to travel. I like a certain way to watch golf. But I'm not the clientele that we're looking for to target those. So we need to hire young people, and some of them outside golf. So I keep insisting on this. But just, you'll see this. I'm the worst golfer here. So I always see it with a very different perspective. But my background, I'm an engineer, so I'm always from an outside. So I think we need to bring people that are not from our industry to help us out to see it differently. And so on the marketing side, on the sales side, we need to bring people that see it on a different way, so they can lead the way. And we have to believe it's the way to go.
It's surprising how small the accessibility for clubs and clothes for children is very, very minimal. Believe it or not, very, very minimal. I think you were saying, Chris, about the Belfry Under Armour, Adidas. My son's with Puma, got some nice Puma clothing. But before that happened, getting him a set of clubs from a major brand is near on impossible. It generally is, and it's the same on the golfing. There's a few polo T-shirts here and there. You might get the odd pair of trousers, but again, there's not much investment from that perspective either. Most kids you see on the golf course are just wearing a pair of Nike trainers and just a T-shirt. There's not really much golf clothing about. So,
I think going back to the influencer opportunity, I think some great points have been made around the value that's bringing to the game in terms of changing the optics of it. I think the challenge and the opportunity that the industry has, that we all have, is to take that reach, take that influence and turn it into something. So these people are consuming our game, they are engaging in our game. How do we, they don't have to come on to play on-course golf. They're still spending money in our ecosystems. But if we were able to capture that audience and that reach and get them into facilities, get them consuming non-traditional golfing products, the top traces, that sort of non-traditional golf, help them on that journey. If the golf industry really capitalized on that opportunity, we'd never have a demand problem again, I believe. And I don't think coming out of the back of COVID, then we had that big surge. I don't think the golf industry has really capitalized on that as much as it could do. And I think everyone has a collective responsibility in trying to capture that reach and that influence. How do you get people to go on to that next stage?
That's a nice segue into the kind of the tourism, the next segment of our podcast. Nuno, you come to you straight on this because it is interesting. The golf participation boom, I don't know, we're seeing the numbers. I work very closely with England Golf. We've seen the kind of participation numbers, we've seen the upsurge in female golfers. For you, how have you seen it with regards to international travel and visitors coming to Portugal to play and stay?
Well, it's growing, paying more. Well, all the prices have been going up. Prices that 5 years ago it were unthinkable. Some of the prices pre-COVID to now more than double. And it was unthinkable. I think this is valid for a meal, for a golf round, a buggy, or whatever. And so we see tremendous growth, but it needs to be sustainable. I think the product needs to be there. Actually, I think there's an issue here when prices keep going up and people keep coming back. We need to give them the right product and the right service. And I think service is becoming one of the biggest things. And obviously, all these online and availability ratings and all ratings it's kind of a two-edged sword. I mean, it's kind of a difficulty one because, like, you go for a restaurant, you check TripAround or whatever, TripAdvisor, and now for golf, it's becoming the same. And you have a bad comment, everybody goes bananas. And then on the same golf course, we have guys that just want to drink beers. They have the other guys want to just take a serious golf round. So so to cater for everyone, it is an issue. But it needs to become an art. You can't just standardize the whole thing. But the business is growing. Super exciting times. We've spoken a little bit about data. Duncan just mentioned about data. I think we lack in data. Golf courses in general lack in data. We just open the door, they walk through, and hopefully they'll come back next year. I think collecting this data, either by all these, the tracer technology, let them use the tracer technology on the golf courses, but at least in exchange, leave your data here, give a back tag name with their name, but collect the data so we can actually follow up on the next day. Would you like to come back? A little bit like Disney does, right? So, I don't want to go over commercial, but we just cannot wait for next year to see the same client. We need to tackle the client on the day after. Obviously, we need to make sure he likes what he had, and I think clients are actually very loyal. I think there's an idea that they are so money driven. I'm not sure. Oh, obviously, there's always a segment, but there's a lot of people that like to be well taken care, and they want to play nice golf courses, have a great experience. I think the experience becomes more important than actually the golf course or the status or the important. I think the experience, it's the whole day, because now time is becoming it is a difficulty. People to have time to play golf. It's always been the issue. Is 5 hours, 4 hours too much? If those 5 hours are great 5 hours, it's a great day. If those 5 hours are a nightmare, I mean, that's a bad day. And so we'll see a lot of people, if you reduce the volumes on a golf course and the pace of play and the 12 minutes and the personalized, and from the previous year your name and what do you like, and you always have a spot on the driving range, new balls on the driving range, technology on the driving range you never had before, you don't have it back home, new logos, new polos, new shirts, new brands. I think people want to be exposed to new things when they travel. And if we give them the same old things, same old, I mean, it's boring. So it's on us, I think, to capitalize and collect the data and interact with the clients on the next day they leave. So because we just expect them to come back next year, and that's a big gap. 12 months on today's life, it's a long time.
Yeah. Chris, for you, the impact of the boom post-COVID, and do you agree with Rich that kind of we could do more as a golf industry, and how optimistic are you about that growth still and the participation levels still being on the up?
Yeah, we can still see the consistencies there. We can still see, we still have more golfers coming to the course, more golfers coming to the Belfry. Alone in, just going from what Nuno said, the two things I just picked up is competitive socializing, which I briefly talked about, and the experience side of it. But the golfer wants to have something different every time they come back to a venue. We had over 600,000 golf balls hit in May at a top tracer course of the academy, which is absolutely incredible numbers, and that numbers continues to drive. And May is not the biggest month for us from a golfing perspective, but it's really is there more we can do? Absolutely. Is there more that as an industry can do? For sure, to make it more accessible. Will we ever be able to do enough? I'm not too sure. I think there's always different avenues, and as soon as the trend continues to change the whole time, and how quickly can you adapt to that? I think the experiential side of it is crucial when it comes to golfer these days. We try to do our best. There's people in this room from a resort perspective that definitely does it better than us from a Glen Eagles perspective. But we try our best, and we try to offer the golfer the best experience from arriving at the driving range. The golf balls, making sure you've got Callaway golf balls, so the brand is right, so the golfer understands what they're paying for when they buy the bucket of golf balls. When they go to Sam's, making sure the food experience is right, because bacon sandwiches is a little bit old school. The new golfer today is definitely more health conscious, and that goes from a non-alcoholic beer side of this well, is what you offer from a drinks variety. Social competitive socializing, they want to stand around somewhere and have a couple of beers, but they don't like just to stand around a table these days. They want to play a game while they stand around a table. So do you offer them shuffle? Do you offer them the darts? And there's various things to make sure it's not the golf is the reason why they come to the Belfry, but it's all the other areas. We used to have a nightclub, an Infamous, so it's
Anyone been to
unfortunately-
Bel Air over the past 10?
This is a live podcast.
Oh, sorry, yeah, it's just censored. So it is, it's how we offer that experience to people. The golfer wants to have a great cocktail. They want to have a great gin and tonic. They want to have, it's not old school, just beers the whole time. So, and it's how you offer that experience. We've changed the external of SAMs, from an internal project perspective, and it's more accessible. We see all of a sudden in SAMs where it used to be a very male-dominated space, we see more females utilizing SAMs and the externals of SAMs, which is very important to us. It's something that we always try our best to crack to make sure it's a space that everybody can use. So it's. Yes, do I see a positive from this year future? Absolutely. We're very UK based. We've seen definitely from speaking to the third parties, golf breaks. But you can see more people going abroad for golf. We've had great weather this year, which of course helped us to retain a lot of golf in the UK as well. I can't say long may that continue. It's not great from a golf course perspective. The water challenges we have at the minute, but currently very positive.
Rich, I want to come to you on this, the competitive socialising side of things, the proliferation of pitch in London or the kind of swingers, all these different, it is fascinating, isn't it? Just from a golfer's perspective, what's your take on that, and how do we look to grow that in the golf space?
I'm not going to comment on swingers, might be misunderstood. I think the growth of the non-traditional setting is a huge opportunity, and I think it makes it cool, it makes it accessible. The technology is playing a huge part in that, and as I was sort of saying earlier on, really, I think if people consume our sport, our game, non-traditionally, that's amazing. And if we can do a better job in getting some of those people to explore the game that we all love out there, as well as that, I think that's a huge opportunity. I think one of the Duncan stats around the number of PGA professionals out now that are building simulators and indoor studios, as Chris says, supplementing that with a beer, great food provision, it's almost leisure time as well as golf, and I think it's a huge opportunity.
Phil, did you want to come in there?
Yeah, the only thing that I'm concerned about really is because we all know that the young adults or kids that go to a top tracer facility really enjoy the sport, fantastic. My concern is the next step of them coming into a golf course and being a member of a golf club, and just some of the cost elements of that for young kids and young adults. And I think that, like we say, golf holidays are getting more expensive, green fees are getting more expensive, the trophy courses in the UK because of the American market are really, really getting expensive. And we just need to make sure that we do allow these young adults to become members of clubs. They know the price of a Tesco meal deal down to the 5 pence, right? So they know that kind of food and beverage and everything, still needs to be accessible for them. So I just worry that the golf industry, and when people of my age who are a bit older maybe have seen it go high in the past and then come crashing down, we've got a fantastic opportunity now to make sure that we look after this next batch, but price can't get out of hand.
Yeah, good point. Any thoughts or questions on that? Yep, thank you. We're just going to get the mic to you, sorry, thank you.
About the ping. The AI makes huge changes in the technology from greenkeeping to the club cars. And then how about in equipment? Do you expect any breakthrough? You mentioned about 100 PhD working on that.
Yeah.
Any changes in equipment, clubs or balls that will require some changes in the rules, maybe?
Obviously the winding back of the ball is going to change things, and I think something like AI will probably help all the manufacturers understand how that's going to make a change for them. I don't know about golf ball technology per se. That's not my area of expertise. As I say, I think that things like finite, element analysis, and the skills and the AI opportunities that are behind now the engineering is going to make a difference. It might still be restricted by the rules and regulations, because the things that somebody like Ping or any of the major brands could make, if there weren't quite all these elements involved, is phenomenal, right? And you could make incredible clubs just for a driving range. And kind of we all know that if there's a lot of people who maybe never step on a golf course, maybe that's what they'll start buying.
Thank you very much. Nuno, I wanted to come back to you just on the tourism piece quickly. Talk about the US market, which I know is booming in terms of the Algarve and Portugal. How significant is that for you right now, and how significant will it continue to be? And also relating that to the service level you mentioned, and making sure that they are getting the service that they've maybe expected and had back home.
So the problem with the Algarve, it's a very old market, so it's been no investment for the past 25 years because the business has been very easy. You just have low costs, a lot of guys flying in, well, 85% from here. So it's just been an easy market, which made us very lazy to get towards the product. So we don't have a product for the American market. Everybody says we would like the American market because it pays well, but careful what you wish, right? Because we just don't have it. Even if you go to Scotland or England, there's not too many American products, right? They need to be very expensive. That's easy. Okay, you can just double the rate. But it needs to be good. Right? It needs to be a good golf course. But in the Algarve, I think we are in a process, in Portugal in particular, we are in a process to put money back on the product that we didn't put any money on in the last 25 years. And now that we have the justification now to do so, because there's clients. And there's the other thing, which is we've spoken a lot today, Duncan, about brands and partners. And one thing, when it comes to the American market, they love brands, right? For them, it's very easy when they travel abroad. They've never been here or never been in Portugal, and they can easily relate with brands. So if it's a Marriott hotel, they get it, and they know where they're going to be. They can picture how it's going to be the experience. They've seen it. If it's a Rosewood hotel, okay, they understand they know what's going to be the experience. If it's a Portuguese golf course, they have no idea. What does it mean, right? So one of the reasons at Aroeira we branded with PGA was actually the power of the brand. The same way with the hotel in Aroeira we're doing with Mizzoni and Aston Martin up in north in Portugal. So we need to bring brands and to pass the word to the American market what kind of standards they're going to find. Obviously, Belfry or Glen Eagles, I mean, it's a brand itself. So I'm going to say it's easy because there's nothing easier, but it's easier. But for us in Portugal, for the UK market, it's been very simple for us because you all know, or there's a friend that's been there. So if you want to know anything about golf or a restaurant in Portugal, you make 2 phone calls, you hear about it, you know the whole feedback better than the Portuguese people do. So you know more than I do in the Algarve. So I'm a foreigner in the Algarve. So I think we need to get it's good to have the American market because of real estate. Yeah. So towards the real estate is a very important thing for us. But we need to back that up with product and brands, which we don't have many brands, international brands in the Algarve, for instance, because we never need it. So that will be I think that's the next 2 years we'll see the big trend is international brands coming into Algarve to take over some of the hotels and to flag some of the golf courses or international chefs or whatever. Yeah.
The Americans certainly knowing and understanding how special the Algarve is. That's the trend that we are seeing for sure. Chris, I wanted to come back to you if I can. You mentioned it, you referred to Angus a couple of times in terms of the water. Sustainability is obviously another key topic. And again, touch on it briefly, something we could talk about for a long time. But for you, what's the consideration with the Belfry sustainability and tourism?
Yeah, we don't get a lot of questions asked when it comes to tourism about sustainability. It's something that we do as a resort, and we believe in as a resort. So we've signed up to 3 different certification credentials for the business. So first of all, it's GEO from a golf course side of it. Then we've got EarthCheck from a hotel side of it. And then green tourism, which is fairly local from a UK. So it is ensuring that the team really understand what we as a business try to achieve. I think the real challenge current is water. So we're very fortunate that we've got a wastewater treatment plant on site. So we generate and clean our own water on site that goes back into the brook, that goes back into the reservoir. But even by producing our own irrigation water, our permits still get reduced, by the bodies, because they want you to continue to use less and less water on a golf course. So it's going to continue to be a real challenge. It is it's a challenge at the minute. Rainfall 28 mil in May. Is that right, Angus? That's right. I do hear about it on a regular basis, and less in April, less in February as well. So we've seen the least amount, the driest spring we've ever had for 70 years.
Wait to see in 10 years to have Bermuda grass on fairways here. I mean, that's
Yeah.
you have champagne being produced here. I mean, it's just all the days going to be in Blackpool again.
Yeah. But it's continued to be a challenge, and something that we as an industry body, as a golfing industry, will need to take very serious.
Yeah.
It's only going to get tougher, and the challenge with that is expectation from a golfer is that the fairway, the green, everything around the golf course needs to be green, because again, that's a social media influence, unfortunately. The golfers see what happens in Orlando, in Florida, abroad. They see tee to green, everything is beautifully manicured the whole time. They believe that when they arrive at the golf course, everything needs to look like Augusta on a daily basis. And unfortunately, with the challenges we have in the UK and from a golfing side of it, you can't deliver that every single day. But the golfer expectation will continue to increase.
Yeah.
So it's how you balance that out a little bit with the challenges and the resources that is unfortunately being squeezed from a UK perspective as well.
Good stuff. Well answered. Look, gonna get some final thoughts in a minute. Just want to open it back up. Any question? We got through loads of topics already. So much to discuss. Hopefully, we've covered some key ones. But any questions from you guys to our panel? Angus.
One for Richard. Not too testing. Do you think the PGA training, and particularly PGA trainees that want to go into management, that you're missing an agronomic program in your training programs? And your thoughts on that? Because they're the front facing, they're the ones that are asking, we just get the greens great, and then the greenkeeper dig them up again. The members are going, what's going on? You had them mint, and then we're renovating them. So your thoughts on how you educate members, because the greenkeepers aren't really front facing, but the PGA Pro is going to be the point of contact for most of the questions.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. The more of our members that are moving into management positions, they're going to need to know, how the golf course operates, how to maintain the golf course, the reason why certain decisions are going to be made. And I think you're right. At the moment, the information we're providing through training is probably lacking. We're trying to make up for that through CPD. So, there is content, there is information on our PGA Learn platform, but there's definitely an opportunity there, particularly as some of the stats that Duncan talked about. There is a move that way. At the moment, a lot of the PGA members are doing that. They're going off and learning either through other bodies or self-learning themselves. I think it would be important for us to play a role in that for sure.
Good question. Thank you. Anyone else like to? Question for yes.
Hi, it's one about equipment technology. I work in putting, and the biggest thing that I've seen over the last, I was going to say a year, I don't know if it's a year or 2 years, you lose track of time, but zero torque putters, lab, they just seem to have come from nowhere to winning the US Open. And I suppose what I'm asking you is a bit of an inside track. A Ping coming out with a zero torque anything? The other brands, Anna TaylorMade, have just released one. Callaway have obviously got square to square. Where a Ping?
Yeah, so it's not really in Ping's fundamental beliefs, zero torque, if I'm honest with you. There's a technical detail there about pulling and pushing the club head through, which Carsten Solheim, had very strong views on, as does his son and his grandson. We have got an onset putter, which has been used by Corey Connors in the last few weeks, which will be coming out as a small run, a limited run to begin with. and we've had centre shafted putters for a long time. We also are kind of very keen to make sure that people are fitted for the right putter for their stroke, and Zero Talk doesn't suit everybody's putting stroke, so we just kind of want to make sure that people are aware of that as well. And you know, there are lots of different putters now that are coming to the market very fast. We do understand that. Ping will always do the right thing by their beliefs over the long term, I would suggest. But they are undoubtedly catching the imagination of people and consumers.
I definitely think everybody should get fitted for a putter. You said you walk into the pro shop and you have a waggle with a putter. That's as much as some people base their purchase on. So getting people fitted for putters is a message that I would tell everybody. But then where should they go to get fitted for putters?
Yeah, and that's a challenge, and it's a challenge to all. It's a challenge to the brands. It's a challenge to all the PGA professionals to make sure that you know, fitting extends to putting more, and there's a facility to do it properly. Same with wedges. Actually, you know, it's harder for people to get fitted for wedges maybe than it could be off grass. But yeah, I mean, 83% of all ping clubs are built for one person. They are built bespokely for somebody. So it's kind of at the DNA that they believe that, you know, putters is, it just takes a bit of time. And that, you know, we all know that from a PGA Professionals point of view, that is becoming in shorter demand. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much. We're just going to pass the mic back to you if we can. Sorry, there we go. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Matt from Prostate Cancer UK here. It's been really interesting hearing people talk about like how brands and resorts are standing out. We've done a huge amount of work in other industries outside of golf about evidencing the benefit that charities can bring to brands in terms of point of difference, standing out, commerciality. And it feels like golf has obviously got a very traditional charity model, organise a golf day, pick an amazing cause. I'd be interested potentially to hear from Phil's perspective and maybe Chris's perspective as how can charities, I guess, help the process that we've spoken through in terms of enhancing brand, connecting with customers, bringing new golfers to a resort. And I'd be interested, I guess, throughout the next 24 hours is talking to people about what's the role and benefit that a charity can bring to the industry holistically.
Answer that one, Chris.
I'll say, one thing, and you know, we've worked together. I know from a British Masters, prostate cancer was the main charity for 2-3 years on the back, so which is absolutely incredible. So I know Matt very well, and I think it's the data, and I think, you know, it's something that Nuno talked about as well. It's utilising the data, understanding the data that you have as a charity, and how other people can utilise that to promote the world of golf. I think it's from a partnership side of it, it's exactly the same. You know, I think the 72-hole challenge that you offer, absolutely incredible from a golfing side of it. It's something that my team always do and support, and it's utilising platforms like that. And then it's from a social side of it. You know, is there anything more that you can link in and promote from a social side of it, and the social content creators to really target a different audience as well. So yeah, there's a lot of scope, and I do believe that, you know, from your charity, I think it's the leading one when it comes to golf, which is absolutely important. From if you look at the demographic and who needs to listen, of course, as well. So amazing work that you guys are doing.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? I'm just conscious of time. I know you're all, yeah, Nuno, yeah.
On the greedy side, on the commercial side, the ESG thing, which we haven't spoken here today, which has become a bit of a trend as well. When we speak about trends, ESG, it's super important. And when it comes, if you look at Portugal, the local community doesn't see golf as a great thing because it's just for outside people, for foreigners. To give back to local communities is a super important thing. So it's super important that we do charity, obviously for the obvious reasons that we should support charities anyway. But there's a local, angle that for Portugal in particular, it's very important to give back to the community. So the golf makes sense because still not accessible, as we said about the prices, this and that. Sometimes it's not accessible for everyone, but if it at least gives back to the community, it's very important. So.
Very important indeed. Thank you, Nuno, for that. we are, timing-wise, one more question, and then I'll just get final comments from our panel if anyone would like to raise their hand. You're all ready to get out on the golf course now, aren't you? I could tell. Look, guys, it's been absolutely amazing. Just a quick, down the line, if I can, future trends. I know we've touched on so many different topics. It's a really exciting time. It's a really optimistic time for the golf industry. If you could just pick out a couple of final thoughts, Rich, as to the big trends that you see over the next few years and some of the key considerations for our partners and stakeholders here in the room.
I think one of the things we talked about is AI.
Yeah.
I think, and the continual evolution of technology and the role that plays. I think that's probably going to be one of the biggest things. Sort of slightly off topic more broadly, I hope, in terms of big topics in golf. I'd really hope that the PGA Tour and LIV sort that situation gets sorted out. I think seeing, challenge at that level of the game, I think it'd be brilliant to see that sorted out. And it's not quite answering your question. But
No. Look, it's a really good point. And I think that kind of fragmentation, I think it's something that we talk about a lot in the professional game. But I think from the outside world, people look at golf sometimes and see the industry as quite fragmented. And I think when you're seeing that at the top and the professional level, I think the negative connotations are there. So I think it's a really good point. Phil, for you, just a couple of things that we really should be looking out for and some of the big trends that you see might develop over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think we need to harness the interest that we have from younger audience. I think that's critical because I think the industry would absolutely kick itself if we didn't make sure that we allow avenues for people to play the sport. Whether that be pricing, whether that be timing, whether that be interesting models of certainly interesting models of membership. I also think sustainability is really important, and the younger element that is coming through are a lot hotter on it than certainly I was at their age. So I don't think we can. I don't think we can avoid that conversation at all.
I think the golf industry as a whole probably a little bit slow to adopt the notion of sustainability, and I think now we're doing a lot of catching up. But it's a hot topic and absolutely should be, and great to see that. Nuno, for you, final thoughts, comments.
I'll say, ESG, all this. Situation is going to be important because we're going to be forced. If there is water, sometimes some places more water, sometimes some places zero water. I think the sense of community. I think people are looking for an experience and a sense of community. It's a club or it's a week but they want to have this sense of community. So I think EI will support that, but we need to look at the environment and the sense of community and experience because everything else already exists.
Fantastic. And Chris, for you?
I think the next generation is crucial from playing golf, but also working in golf. And I think the working in golf is an element that Angus and myself, and we as a team, continue to talk about a lot. Being it from a golf professional side of it, but also from a greenkeeping. We as an industry we don't. I think it goes back to expectations from a golfer. The expectations from a golfer is continue to grow. For that, you need to make sure you've got the right team doing the work to ensure we can please the golfer. And greenkeeping has been had some really challenges from a recruitment side of it. It's definitely more accessible. I think COVID wasn't great from a greenkeeping. So a lot of people, experienced people, has left the industry, and it's what we will do as an industry to make the golfer aware of the challenges, make them aware a little bit more from what we're allowed to use from a fungicide side of it. Your greens won't always be perfect because we don't have the chemical to treat everything to make it look like Augusta on a daily basis, and we don't talk about it enough. But you need to experience people to really support us to make the golfer aware, and just to see how we leverage that. But yeah, it's the next generation is crucial. We need them through the golf shops. We need them through the driving range. The transition between the driving range and the golf is absolutely crucial. But it's amazing that it's in a good place and we can have these conversations, of course, which is great.
Absolutely. Look, golf is in a very good place. I think we're all very optimistic about the future. So look, that's been fantastic. Thank you all so much for your comments. Brilliant panel. Thank you for your questions. I hope that sparked some interest as well, and that's going to lead to some more discussions and debate over the next couple of days because you've got lots of time together on the golf course. I'm sure in the bar a little later as well. But yeah, I hope you find that useful. Can download the podcast, of course, after this event. So do listen back if you want. But thank you all so much, and thanks to our brilliant panelists. A round of applause, please, for all four of them.